All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So here, I just wanted to share some information about the difference between, the CV and the resume. And in other areas outside of the US, a CV is used as a resume. So in the United States, when someone is referring to a CV, they're typically referring to an academic position. It's a position for it's a document for an academic position. So when you're reading, who is the reader? Academic for CV, and anything else, anything industry or corporate would be a resume. And so the purpose in the CV is really to show the expertise in your field of study. It's to show your accomplishments and contributions, the depth and breadth of your study, compared to a resume, which is really designed to demonstrate the qualifications for a specific job and to move forward in an application process. The CV is unlimited, it's as many pages as needed to share your information. With a resume, typically 1 or 2 pages. The CV, we want to include teaching, research, publication, service, relevant experience, committees, everything that you have contributed in your field. And it is often more list focused. However, there are areas of customization that I would highly recommend. And we're going to get a little bit into what that can look like. So on your resume, it really focused on what is most important for that particular job. What does the reader of this document need to know about me first related to the job? So it's going to highlight those types of achievements, projects, and it's going to consider the what, why, how, the impact, and to quantify in your bullets if applicable. So, besides academic positions such as teaching, whether adjunct or faculty at any type of institution, whether it's um, a research-focused institution, whether it's a two-year community college, a CV can be used for applying for fellowships and grants for any seeking a position internationally, professional association leadership, publishing, departmental or tenure reviews, speaking engagements, and editorial review boards. So we're going to start with kind of the overview. We're going to go over the big picture, and then we're going to break it down to a closer, more detailed view in the next part of this session. So in general, we want to leave enough white space so this document is easy to read and the information is organized in a fashion that just everything can be taken in so it's not too cluttered. I recommend using standard margins. You can go a little bit more narrow if necessary, and a standard font, 11 to 12 point. It's important to bold your name. You really want your name to pop, to stand out on your document. And it is so important, and it seems very simple, but I cannot overstate that you should have someone else proofread your CV. Undoubtedly, you will spend a lot of time putting it together and it may become blurry. So just please share your document with a trusted mentor, advisor, a faculty member, or your career coach to help make sure that everything is perfect. And you're going to choose an effective format. And the format really will be dictated by your field typically, and also what type of institution that you're applying to. So if you're applying to a research focused institution, we're going to want to make sure that research is prominent, it's listed in the first few sections of the document, compared to possibly perhaps a community college where you might have more industry or professional experience that you would want to highlight in the beginning. Always in each section that you have on your document, you list the items in reverse chronological order. So we want to avoid too much extra words and too much jargon, but you also can use language and acronyms that are recognized and commonly used in your field after you've written them out the first time. Um, I would suggest to limit too many variations or instances of bolding, of underlining, or italics. You can use all caps to differentiate between sections. We'll look at some examples later. Avoid any graphics or pictures, and you want to make sure that you have your name, address, email, and phone number in the so when you're emailing your CV as an attachment, they have everything. And I found it helpful, some just to, you can like save your separate sections of your CV. So you can keep like your publications in one document, your work experience, your professional experience, your presentations, because sometimes you need to copy and paste possibly into an application tracking system. So if you have each section broken down, you can easily manipulate what you need from those for other purposes. So in general, these are typical CV sections, but it really does vary with your experience and discipline. So obviously your contact information, your header, your education is almost always first. Research, teaching experience, any patents, awards and funding, journal and conference publications, presentations and posters, professional memberships, leadership, service to the profession, and references. The references typically, at one point, it was very common to have the references actually as a page on your CV. I would suggest creating a separate document, and usually those are asked to be uploaded separately. So I would just keep it available, make sure that the individuals that you will ask to serve as your reference are aware of what you're looking to do, so they're prepared to most accurately, help you and share your experiences and skills when, if and when they're contacted. So your field of study really will determine the sections and content to include. So your faculty and department can provide you with that expertise and best practices. So we're going to look in a moment how to research your professor's CVs to see examples of how they've organized their documents. And we're also going to talk a little bit about when you apply, making sure that your experience that aligns with the mission, the goals, and the strategies of whatever institution you're applying to are highlighted. You can search this UNT faculty information system to see the CVs for faculty at various stages in your career. And I have the link there. We can go over that together shortly. That is very helpful because you can look at someone that's early in their career, maybe an adjunct. Then you can look at a full professor or assistant professor, and you can see the development of sections as you gain experience. These are some other references that I have included. I really like this one here because this article and this link helps you transition your CV to a resume and vice versa. So it's it's suggested that you do have a resume also in addition to your CV. And because they look so different, this article can give some tips on what that could look like. And then inside Higher Ed Jobs and higheredjobs.com, not only do they have job postings for jobs in academia, but also a career resource center with articles and blogs that is helpful. In the beginning of your career, your CV may be very short. There may not be as many experiences on there at this time. So when you're looking at doing your applications, you want to really be familiar with, with the academic unit, with the department, and with the institution itself. So the more research that you do, you can really get insight on any awards or publications that the faculty has earned, kind of what some of what their mission is and what they're doing in the community, any partnerships that they have. because you want to use that kind of language and have an understanding of that in your documents. And then also for any interviews and the interview process, that's going to be a really important part of the conversation. So as the CVs get very, very long, and professors, CVs can be 30 pages, 20 pages. So in the beginning, though, if you've done just maybe taught one class, instead of just listing the class, we have plenty of space on this document to add detail about some of the impact that you had in that class. So using bullets to give impact examples and quantifying if possible, using any like the technologies that you have used will give the reader a better understanding of what you actually did in that experience. So as you continue on, your experience somewhat speaks for itself and it does become even more list oriented. But I do suggest considering expanding on these experiences under the bullets, which we're going to look at in a moment, especially in the beginning. So by doing research, it'll help you determine where to put sections and also the kind of keywords to make sure that you talk about or discuss. So you can even use a website like Glassdoor. So you obviously want to check out the website of the institution, the careers and human resources area, all of the faculty information and the program information. But you can use this site to get reviews of the college or institution, reported interview questions that were asked of the candidates, and other anecdotal information. So as much as you can pull from as many sources, I think will give you a good idea of what to expect, because a CV is very difficult to customize to a different institution. It is very much the same one that you could give to a community college, to UNT, to Collin College, or to a private institution. So anytime that you can customize that to show how your experiences actually will be helpful and can help with the initiatives and mission and the population that that school serves, will help you hopefully in the process be seen as a possible candidate. So these are the things that you can be looking at when you're developing your document. So obviously the position description, the job posting, the career page site, all of the faculty, the student demographics, any institutional data, any ranking data, understand what community college or two-year institutions are feeding if it's a four-year school, some notable alumni or alumni engagement, and first generation and other non-traditional student population, any partnerships or industry initiatives, and the community college and four-year differences. So how are you going to demonstrate that research? So in the CV, it's sections to add and in what order, accomplishments to add. Research or industry, that's a really big differentiation between in CVs, how you want to organize it and what you want to focus on. Most important information should be listed first in the document. If you were asked about your syllabus design, your teaching philosophy, learning outcomes of any instruction that you've done, in discussing your writings, your mission, your personal statements, and interview prep. So all of those are areas where you can demonstrate and be able to give specific examples of how your background and experience can help with the role that you're trying to get. So when we're looking at bullets underneath sections to tell a story and describe projects, we want to start with an action verb with each one. And so less task oriented and more of the impact and outcome. So a verb and what and who, how, why, and the impact. So what did I do? What tools or technology or attributes or skills did I use to do this thing? And then what was the outcome, and quantifying it if possible. So here, this page describes an example of how you can elaborate on some of your experiences, especially when you're in the beginning of your career. So the last example gives the reader the outcome of the action, quantifying it, that's the 15%, and what skills were used, communication skills. So the SOAR method is an acronym that's used when you're writing information to describe your skills, just to help you remember what important information to include. So the statement of action, the occurrence of action, the amount of action, and the results. So here's some higher level of examples that could work for a graduate student. So instead of saying analyzed consumer data, try analyzed descriptive consumer data with univariate and multivariate techniques to explain consumers' evaluations of clients' products from a sensory perspective. So you're giving the why there. And for instead of taught 3 undergrad classes, taught 3 Victorian literature lectures by utilizing flipped classroom pedagogy to enhance student engagement. That's the how. And then it instead of develop vibration resistance material based on artificial tooth enamel, you can try developed vibration resistant material based on artificial tooth enamel with potential impacts in aerospace and automotive applications. So here on this slide that will be provided to you will give you some things I would suggest following up on, like other professional development sessions, make an appointment with your career coach. Our career center is modeled kind of a hub and spoke. So we have career coaches within all of the colleges. So if you are a computer science major, then you would meet with a coach in computer science. So I would suggest doing that if that sounds helpful. LinkedIn Learning, Big Interview, and Handshake are all of platforms that you can use to gain additional skills, to do mock interviews. You can record yourself. You can, increase your comfort level with interviews, and then Handshake gives you access to all of our events and then also job postings. If you haven't heard of GSTEP, which is the Graduate Student Teaching Excellence Program, I would highly recommend checking it out. This is a free instructional course that is 100% online. It goes throughout one semester, and it teaches you the fundamentals of teaching. So this is something that will be posted on your transcript. So it looks really great if you want to teach, but you haven't had a lot of experience. You will write learning objectives. You will create coursework within Canvas. You can write a teaching philosophy, and it really gives you the foundation of how to share your knowledge in your field in a classroom setting. So I highly recommend that. And then teaching on campus, so being a graduate assistant, being a TA, those opportunities can be found on the link there. And if you are an international student, there is a page that is fully dedicated to international resources. So that's the big picture of CVs. So let's go ahead and move forward. This document is the one that was in the chat. So if you have downloaded it and would like to review it, you will have that for later. But it's going to kind of review a little bit as we talked about the difference in a teaching focused college and compared to research intensive. And the other highlights that we've discussed are here. In general, I kind of like just placing the name, so that the description of the items will go on the left, and then all of the dates will go on the right. I feel like that takes up the page in a way that is easy to read and just balances everything out from a visual point of view. If we talked about action verbs, so this link goes to a document of an entire page of action verbs that will hopefully kind of spark some ideas on how to describe your work. this is the details of, when you're listing your publications, how to list them. Now, you will defer to your academic unit and to your specialty um, as far as citations, but in general, this gives you an idea. So if you've done a presentation, whether it's an oral or poster, you give the title, the name of the conference or event, the dates and location, and if appropriate in your discipline, a brief description. So use the format appropriate to your particular academic discipline for a consistent and clean look. There's optional sections. Now, this is why it will be helpful when we look at CVs from your professors, but it's very likely that you might want to have a technical skills section. So this, if you were in a technical field, this should be prominent on your CV. This should be listed towards the top of the page. So it would list all your technical expertise, your languages, and the programming software that you know. Grants, and any research there. So here is an example. This is an example of a CV for a individual pursuing a PhD in educational psychology. So as you can see, the information is on the left, and then all the dates are aligned on the right. And I think that gives a clean look. The heading, this is your kind of like your letterhead. So it's nice if you create this and then you can use it on any email. So let's just say you're emailing a chair and you're making an introduction or you want to talk about their research. If you use the a heading that's like a letterhead, it looks really clean if it matches, if everything matches. So that's just a little tip there. So the dissertation title is there and the committee members are listed. So everything is in reverse chronological order from the PhD program, the master's, and the bachelor's. So this individual has their teaching and advising first. So as you can see, an example of the bullets, as we talked about earlier, these are the action verbs that are starting. So every bullet has the action verb. So it serves as a facilitator for 7 sections of Psych 101. So this gives the reader a better idea that this individual has a good amount of experience teaching because that's 7 sections. So even if they're new in their career. And it gives more examples of what skills were used, what techniques, what theories. So just elaborating is can be really helpful in giving the reader, how much experience you have actually had. So there's a difference between listing a competency and then the actual proficiency in the competency. So that's what is very helpful with these bullets. And so they've listed all their experience. Now, they are now listing their research experience. So everything is listed on the left. And as you can see, if something is bulleted on the, if it's bolded on the left, it should be bolded on the right. So the whole line should match. And you can see that not everything is bolded. What's bolded is the titles of the roles and then also the education. So the degrees that have been conferred or that you're pursuing are bolded. And then of course the sections in between each. So this is all of the information. And here is the publication. So, they're using their field of study, using the proper citations and their writing style. The conference presentations, honors and awards. So this experience is outside of the institution, but sometimes that's really important to include, especially if it's relevant to the position you're looking for or if it really complements your academic work. So you can include volunteer experience, you can include internship experience, paid experience. So all of it, if it's helpful in giving, telling all the experiences you have, I would include it. And then the professional memberships are almost always at the bottom. And I've created a footer, so you have the page number and then also your name and the document in case anything gets separated. And that would be the same advice that I would give when you're saving your document, to always include your name and what the document is, whether it's a CV, whether it's a cover letter, whether it's a resume, and save it and send it as a PDF when at all possible. Are there any questions on that at the moment?
Um, I actually have a specific question.
Sure.
Okay. So I have received my master's in computer science long time ago in 2010. But then recently, before joining PhD at UNT, I also got my master's in computer science and engineering, which is pretty much same thing as I did 10 years ago. But this time I got my master's with thesis. But in terms of degrees, it was like the same thing, like
Mm.
computer science before, computer science again. Now my question is it necessary to include the degree conferred, like that it's been 10 years ago, or it's unnecessary because the newest degree kind of overrides the old one?
That's a really great question. Thank you for asking that. I would include that. And again, the resume is a whole different deal. And if we were talking about resumes, that could be a no. But for the CV, you do want to include it because your degrees and your academic work are so important, and they will be asking for all of your official transcripts for almost every academic job. So that you don't want to have any surprises or any questions, and you just want to be as thorough as possible. And that could perhaps be a good talking point is, if you were in an interview, if you were talking to an interview team, a recruiter, those are things that your additional experience will give you a different perspective. And so, yes, I would definitely include it. And I have seen CVs just in my limited experience with the same level of degree from different schools for a variety of reasons. So,
Right.
yes, do include that.
Okay, well, that was very helpful because I was very unsure, like, what do I do in this case? And it's not standard to see it even online somewhere.
Hmm.
So I haven't, I mean, not everybody does that. Usually it will be a different degree, maybe same, different levels, I mean, same master's, but just different uh, branches, of studies. But in my case, I was like unsure, like, how do I handle this? But you just answered. So it's very helpful and I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I would also encourage you to, underneath the degree, just as in the what's on the screen here, the dissertation, make sure that you indicate your thesis. And you could even, if it was a capstone project in one, I mean, you can always include a short description to maybe highlight, any emphasis area or differentiate if that's helpful. So if you have individual questions, we can definitely meet with a coach, or you can check with faculty. But I would definitely include it. But you might want to give a short description of the program itself or anything about the program, because that would give someone a little bit, they could just see the difference really quickly. If they were not even spending very much time on this, they could see it really quickly.
I see. Okay. So one more question now that
Sure.
you've been so helpful. If we need to come to see anyone in at your end, I know there are so many careers. I'm a new student here, so there are so many career centers here, and I don't know which so well to navigate myself. So is it the career center at computer science down at the Discovery Park, or is it one at Chestnut Hall? Like, can you guide us like which one we should address?
Yes, absolutely. So we are all doing career at UNT as we should be, which means that everybody is invested in, connecting your academic work to hopefully a meaningful job or meaningful experience. So the Career Center, we're actually not in Chestnut Hall anymore. So when things are normal and we're all back on campus again, we're in Sage Hall. So we're
Oh,
right next to the Union on the second floor. However, we do have a career center in Discovery Park, and your career coach is Laura Garza. And I will pull up the website right now so we can just look at it together.
oh, okay, great. Because I was thinking maybe it's separate for science majors or social majors. So,
Yes. So, can everybody see the Career Center website?
yes.
Okay, great. So under career communities, there's some options. So you can go to the Toulouse Graduate School,
Mhm,
and our website is just careercenter.unt.edu.
mhm.
And so here is the Toulouse Graduate School, and it has, an introduction and some of the services. So the documents that we just talked about are linked here, as well as handshake information. We have highlighted jobs and other experiences to check out. Now, if you want to find out who your career coach is, you can just go to your program. So you're an engineering career community. So
Yes.
that's going to take you to Laura Garza. She's going to be your career coach, and you can make an appointment with her.
Mhm.
Um, Probably there's so many ways to do it, but just see where it says schedule an appointment
Okay.
at the
Yes,
top.
yes, I can see that.
Yes, that will be the same system that you would use to make an appointment, like with an academic advisor or other student services.
Mhm.
So your coach for your college will populate as well as their availability, and it's all scheduled through Navigate.
Oh,
But
thank you
just
very
if you, yeah, if you want to note who your coach is, it is Laura Garza, and she would be an excellent resource. And she deals with College of Information and College of Engineering.
well, thank you very much for guiding me. That was very helpful.
Sure, no problem at all. So this is the our website. So there's a lot of information. There's videos if you like videos. There's written material. There's blogs and articles, as well as links to the actual programs like Handshake, like um, like the big interview. So those are all will be under the resource tabs. So now let's go ahead and look at that faculty information system, because I would like you to kind of be able to see how you can do some research on your faculty. So I will pull that up here. Okay, has the screen moved to faculty information system?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So this is just facultyinfo.unt.edu, and it allows you to pull up information on any faculty at UNT. And you can search by faculty name, department, or courses. So if we want to, we'll do engineering, electrical engineering populated, and then you click search. It is listing all the individual instructors in alphabetical order by last name. And you can see by their level of what might be helpful in reviewing their CD. So here's an adjunct faculty. So that would be obviously someone, earlier in their career, probably with a little bit less experience. So you could see how okay, so this one doesn't look like they've uploaded the full one. So that was not a good example, but let's look at another one. Okay, let's try this one. You will find some variation on what's included. Sometimes they there is a state mandate that every instructor has a CV listed, at least basic information. So that's the minimum that you're going to see. But most of the time, you see a very uh, much more information. So hopefully, okay. So here's an associate professor. Okay. So now you can see, and I think what's most helpful is the order of the sections and what sections they have. So you could even create a document that has sections that seem to be typical or seem to be repeating in your field of study. And then as you gain experience, as you have more exposure, just keep track of them. That will be much easier when you're actually putting this document together. So just even what was it called, what was the date, a brief description, and any other collaborators involved. And then you can go back and get the formatting correct. But you can go and do this. I think it's very interesting to do this on all of your instructors if you haven't already. And then maybe some of you actually have yours uploaded based if you're teaching currently. But that gives you a good idea of what's typical for your field of study. And that's probably the most important thing for you to kind of walk away with or take from this session is that it really depends on your field of study. So have your advisor, have your faculty advisor guide you. Depending on where you're at in your program, there would be a great resource. The Writing Center also can be really helpful if you need just more time, just putting this together. They can be a resource as well, in addition to the Career Center.